to have your mobile phone switched off so that we don't disturb our speakers for the day. And also that today's program will be conducted entirely in English, but we do provide interpretation facilities. If you haven't done so, you can pick up your headsets just outside of the hall.
headset ได้ที่ทางด้านหน้าของห้องนี้
Without further ado,
เพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลาผมขอเชิญพระท่านคุณพิชพันธ์ชาญภูมิดลอธิบดีกรมเอเชียตะวันออกขึ้นมาบนเวทีเพื่อมากล่าวเปิดงานครับ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning His Excellency
สวัสดีครับพนักท่านเพื่อนๆทุกท่านดรเดสราพัสคายาอธิบดีกรมเอเชียแปซิฟิกและแอฟริกากระทรวงการต่างประเทศอินโดนีเซียรวมทั้งพนักท่านสุวัชิรพันธ์ท่านทูตแล้วก็เพื่อนๆที่รักทุกท่านแขกผู้มีเกียรติสุภาพบุรุษสุภาพสตรีทุกท่านในนามของกระทรวงการต่างประเทศของประเทศไทยผมได้รับเกียรติให้มาเป็นผู้กล่าวต้อนรับ
and our guest speakers to this special business seminar.
ในการ
I also wish to express my deep appreciation to the Embassy of Indonesia in Bangkok for the excellent and close collaboration in organizing this event. Indonesia has long been regarded as a regional leader and the leading player in the world.
นำในโลกนี้มาเป็นเวลานานแล้วในแง่ของภูมิศาสตร์และการเมืองตั้งแต่ปี1955หรือประมาณ63ปีก่อนนี้อินโดนีเซียก็คือเป็นผู้นำด้านโครงการริเริ่มสากลมากมายอย่างเช่นการประชุมบันดุงคอนเฟอเรนซ์หลังจากนี้ยังมีอาเซียนแอฟริกันซัมมิตซึ่งเป็นการสัมมนาอีกครั้งหนึ่งแล้วก็มีความร่วมมือด้านกลยุทธ์ของเอเชียแอฟริกันครั้งใหม่ด้วยซึ่งเป็นตำนานของการร่วมมือกันระหว่างสมาชิกต่างๆซึ่งตรงนี้ก็ยังดำเนินต่อไปอย่างต่อเนื่องตั้งแต่ปี 2000 เป็นต้นมาประเทศอินโดนีเซียได้เป็นสมาคม G20
the one and only Southeast Asian country in that group and has played a leading role representing the interests of both ASEAN and the developing world.Strategically located in the middle of the crossroads between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, Indonesia has made the significant lead in enhancing maritime trade and connectivity, including the chairmanship of the Indian Ocean Rim Association from 2015 to 2017.Indonesia is also abundant in natural resources, particularly palm oil,
อินโดนีเซียยังมีทรัพยากรที่สมบูรณ์ก็มีทั้งน้ำมันปาล์มถ่านหินแล้วก็ยางนอกจากนี้ยังมีทรัพยากรด้านพลังงานอย่างเช่นพลังงาน geothermal แล้วก็น้ำมันแล้วก็แก๊สด้วยในแง่ของ geoeconomic หรือว่าเศรษฐศาสตร์ภูมิศาสตร์เนี่ยอินโดนีเซียก็คือว่าจะเป็นมีเศรษฐกิจที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในเอเชียตะวันออกเฉียงใต้นับเป็นอันดับ4ของประเทศในโลกนี้แล้วก็นอกจากนี้เนี่ยก็คือว่าจะเป็นอันดับ4ของเศรษฐกิจที่ใหญ่ที่สุดภายในปี 2020 นอกจากนี้ทุกวันนี้เนี่ยอินโดนีเซียเนี่ยก็จะเป็นประเทศที่มีเศรษฐกิจใหญ่ที่สุดเป็นอันดับ10ในแง่ของอำนาจในการซื้อเนื่องจากทรัพยากรเหล่านี้ที่มีแน่นอนว่าอินโดนีเซียเนี่ยก็จะต้องเป็นผู้นำในภูมิภาคแล้วก็ในโลกด้วยในบริบทนี้ประเทศไทยเนี่ยก็โชคดีมากที่ได้มีความร่วมมืออย่างใกล้ชิดกับประเทศอินโดนีเซีย
We share and
เรา
enjoy
ก็ได้ร่วมมือกันแล้วก็มาเป็นเวลาช้านานเป็นลักษณะการร่วมมือแบบทวิภาคีแล้วก็มีการแลกเปลี่ยนกันเป็นประจำโดยการประชุมแล้วก็สัมมนาต่างๆในเดือนกรกฎาคมของปีนี้อินโดนีเซียก็ได้จัดงานครั้งที่ 9 ของการประชุม Joint Commission หรือ JC ในยกร์ตาซึ่งตรงนั้นก็มีผมก็เสียใจรู้สึกเสียดายที่ไม่ได้ไปร่วมด้วยตรงนั้นเนี่ยก็มีรัฐมนตรีกระทรวงต่างประเทศก็เห็นพ้องกันว่าประเทศไทยและประเทศอินโดนีเซียเนี่ยจะเป็นเศรษฐกิจที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในอาเซียนซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยเราจะมีศักยภาพในการที่จะส่งเสริมการค้าและการลงทุนผ่านการร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐและเอกชนหรือ PPP ในสัมมนาในวันนี้เนี่ยดังนั้นควรจะได้รับการพิจารณาว่าเป็นการสัมมนาเพื่อส่งเสริมการร่วมมือระหว่างประเทศทั้งสองประเทศนี้และทำให้มีผลลัพธ์อย่างเป็นรูปธรรมของการประชุม JC ครั้งที่ 9
His Excellency
คณะท่านพักเดสราปรุษายาอธิบดีกรมเอเชียแปซิฟิกและแอฟริกันก็ได้มีบทบาทสำคัญในความสำเร็จของการประชุมดังที่กล่าวมาดังนั้นผมจึงรู้สึกเป็นเกียรติมากที่ท่านได้เข้ามาเป็นร่วมงานกับเราในวันนี้เราก็ควรจะช่วยกันส่งเสริมความร่วมมือในเชิงกลยุทธ์ระหว่างประเทศทั้งสองนี้แขกผู้มีเกียรติสุภาพบุรุษและสุภาพสตรีทุกท่านแม้ว่าตอนนี้จะเป็นขาลงของเศรษฐกิจในโลกแต่ว่าเศรษฐกิจของเอเชียก็ยังมีความเข้มแข็งอยู่ซึ่งค่าของการเติบโตก็คือ 5.2% สำหรับ GDP ในปีนี้แล้วก็คิดว่าปีหน้าก็น่าจะเติบโตถึง 5.3% อินโดนีเซียเนี่ยอัตราการเติบโตเนี่ยถือว่าสูงที่สุดแห่งหนึ่งในภูมิภาคแล้วก็มากกว่าค่าการเติบโตสูงสุดโดยเฉลี่ยของโลก
The government of Indonesia
แน่นอนว่ารัฐบาลของอินโดนีเซียได้รับความสำเร็จในแง่ของนโยบายแล้วก็นอกจากนี้ก็ยังมีเป็นเวทีของการส่งเสริมการค้าและการลงทุนอย่างเช่นธุรกิจ SME แล้วก็ธุรกิจสตาร์ทอัพต่างๆนอกจากนี้ผมยังขอแสดงความชื่นชมนะครับกับแผนของรัฐบาลอินโดนีเซียในการที่จัดตั้งศูนย์เรียนรู้อาเซียนยูนิคอร์นเพื่อที่จะสนับสนุนธุรกิจสตาร์ทอัพในเชิงดิจิทัลซึ่งการประสบความสำเร็จในครั้งนี้เนี่ยสะท้อนให้เห็นว่าในประเทศอินโดนีเซียเนี่ยก็คือว่าตรงนี้เนี่ยโครงการมีการจัดอันดับโดย World Bank Ease of Doing Business และก็ทำให้มีการ
or 22nd in 2017.
ขยับจากลำดับ106
I note with pleasure that amid stagnant global trade and investment, our bilateral relations and trade continue to increase. Indonesia is currently Thailand's fifth largest trading partner. Our trade volume was around $12 billion during the first 8 months of this year, an increase of around 15%. Indonesia's investment in Thailand has also increased steadily and reached $188 million or a 25% rise from 2016, making Indonesia the 10th largest foreign investor in Thailand. On the other hand, Indonesia is also one of the most important investment destinations for Thai investors. Thailand is currently Indonesia's 15th largest foreign investor, with a total investment value of $220 million. Some of the major Thai companies investing in Indonesia include CP or เจริญโภคภัณฑ์ SCG or Siam Cement Group, the PTT, บ้านปู and Bangkok Bank. I'm happy that many more Thai companies are interested in investing in Indonesia, including Thai SMEs. Last year, during my tenure as Ambassador of Thailand to Indonesia, I visited Palembang, Surabaya, Semarang, Manado, Makassar, and Balikpapan to explore trade and investment opportunities for the Thai private sector.
โอกาสในการ
I
ลงทุน
found
และ
that
การค้า
there
ข
were
อง
various
ภาคเอกชน
lucrative
ของประเทศไทย
potentials for our
ได้พบว่า
businesses.
มีศักยภาพ
Having
มาก
said
มาย
that,
เลยสำหรับธุรกิจข
I
องเรา
trust that
ซึ่งผม
the
เชื่อ
seminar
มั่น
today
ว่า
will
การ
help
สัมมนาใน
promote
ครั้ง
and
นี้
bring
ก็จะช่วย
about
ส่ง
more
เสริม
public
และทำ
private
ให้
partnership
มี
between
การ
our
ร่ว
two
มมือระหว่าง
countries.
รัฐและเอกชนมากขึ้นระหว่างสองประเทศ
Ladies and
นี้
gentlemen,
สุภาพบุรุษ
before we
สุภาพสตรี
proceed,
ทุกท่านครับก่อนที่เราจะดำเนิน
I wish
การ
to express my
การต่อ
sincere
ไปเนี่ย
appreciation
ผม
to
ก็อยาก
our
จะ
guest
ขอแสดง
speakers
ความขอบคุณ
and
และสำหรับ
panelists
วิทยากร
from
และก็
Indonesia
ผู้
and
อภิปรายจากประเท
Thailand
ศอินโดนีเซียและประเทศไทย
for making themselves
ในการ
available to
ที่
participate
กรุณา
in
สละ
our
เวลา
event.
มาร่วมงานกับเราในครั้งนี้
We are very much
เรา
grateful
ก็รู้สึกขอบคุณ
to
เป็นอ
have
ย่างยิ่งในการที่
guest speakers from
เรา
the
ได้
Indonesian
มี
Investment
วิทยากร
Coordinating
จาก
Board
ค
or
ณะกรรมการ
BKPM,
ด้านการประสานงานการลงทุนในประเทศ
Indonesian
อินโดนีเซีย
Chamber of
และนอกจาก
Commerce
นี้ยังมีสภา
and
หอการ
Industry
ค้า
or
และอุต
Kadin,
สาหกรรมในประเทศอินโดนีเซียหรือ
and
คาดิ
the
น
Bank of
และนอกจากนี้
Indonesia,
ยังมีธนาคารแห่งอินโดนี
as
เซีย
well as the Board of
รวมถึง
Investment of
คณะ
Thailand,
กรรมการส่งเสริมการลงทุน
SCG
แห่งประเทศไท
Indonesia,
ย
and the
SCG
CEO
อินโดนีเซีย
and
และ
co-founder
CEO
of
และผู้ร่วมก่อตั้ง
Prisesa
ของ Prisesa
or Prisesa. I'm
ห
not
รือ
sure
Prisesa
whether
ไม่
I
แน่ใจ
pronounced
นะครับว่า
correctly.
ผมออก
A successful
ออกเสียงถูก
Thai
หรือเปล่านะครับ
SME.
ซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยยัง
My
มี
special
SME
thanks
นะค
also
รับ
go to
ของประ
Pak
เทศไทย
Denny
ก็ขอ
Abdi
ขอบคุณครับคุณ
for
Denny
the Director
Abdi
of
นะค
for
รับซึ่ง
Southeast
เป็น
Asian
อธิบดี
Affairs,
กรม
Ministry of
เอเชี
Foreign
ยตะวัน
Affairs
ออก
of
เฉียงใต้
Indonesia
และกระทรว
for
งการ
kindly
ต่างประเทศของ
taking
อินโดนีเซีย
the
ที่
moderator role.
เข้ามาเป็น
In
ผู้ดำเนิน
in
รายการ
conclusion,
ในครั้งนี้
I
สรุป
hope
ก็คือ
the
ว่า
seminar
ผมหวังว่า
today
การสัม
will
ม
be
นาในวันนี้
fruitful
เนี่ยจะเป็นประโยชน์
and
และ
make
ทำ
an
ให้
impact
เกิดผล
for
กระทบ
more
ใน
business
แง่ของ
interactions,
การ
particularly
ติดต่อ
for
ธุรกิจ
small
โดย
and
เฉพาะ
medium-sized
สำหรับ
enterprises.
วิสาหกิจขนาดกลางและขนาด
Most
เล็ก
importantly,
SME และที่สำคัญ
today's
ที่สุด
event
ก็คืองานในครั้ง
marks
นี้
another
ก็เป็น
significant
โอกาสที่สำคัญ
occasion
อย่างหนึ่ง
for
ในการ
our bilateral
สร้างความ
relations
สัมพันธ์ใน
to forge
เชิง
a
ธุรกิจ
stronger
แบบนี้เพื่อที่
economic
จะ
partnership
ทำให้เกิดการร่วมมือ
for the benefit of
ในเชิง
our
เศรษฐ
two
กิจที่เข้ม
countries
แข็ง
and
ยิ่งขึ้น
peoples.
เพื่อให้เป็นประโยชน์ต่อ
Last
ประเท
but
ศ
not least,
และ
I wish to
ป
thank
ระชาชน
all
ข
the
องทั้งสองประเท
dedicated
ศและ
colleagues
สุดท้าย
who
ผม
have
ขอ
worked
ขอบคุณ
tirelessly
ผู้
behind
ร่
the
วมงาน
scenes
ทุกท่านที่อุต
in
ส่าห์
organizing
ทิ้งเวลา
today's
นะครับ
event
เพื่อที่จะทำงาน
and wish
อยู่
the
เบื้องหลัง
seminar
ในการ
every
จัดงานในค
success.
รั้งนี้และห
ข
วั
อบ
ง
คุณ
ว่า
ครับ
การประชุมครั้งนี้จะประสบความสำเร็จ Thank you
Thank you very much, Your
ขอบ
Excellency,
คุณ
for
มาก
your
ครับ
welcome
สำหรับ
remarks.
การกล่าวเปิดนะครับ
Next, I would like
ต่อ
to
ไปผม
invite
ขอเชิ
His
ญ
Excellency
คณะ
Dr.
ท่าน
Desra
ดร
Prasaya,
Desra
Director
Prasaya
General
นะครับ
for
ซึ่งเป็นอธิบ
Asia
ดี
Pacific and African
ก
Affairs,
รม
Ministry of Foreign
เอเชีย
Affairs
แป
of
ซิฟิกแล้วก็
Indonesia, to the stage to
เพื่อ
deliver his
กรม
remarks.
กระทรวงการ
Excellency.
ต่างประเทศอินโดนีเซียนะครับเพื่อมาทำการนำเสนอ
I am not as tall as Kun Pichayapan, so I have to struggle a little bit. His Excellency, Mr. Pichayapan
คุณ
Chanbumipon,
พิชยพันธ์ชาญภูมิพล
Director General, Department of East Asian
ผู้อำนวย
Affairs,
การกรมเอ
His
เชียตะวันออ
Excellency
ก
Ambassador Sufat
แล้วก็
Chirapan,
คุณสุภา
who
จิร
was
พันธ์
Ambassador of Thailand for
ซึ่ง
ASEAN
เป็น
in
ทูต
Jakarta,
ของ
My
ประเทศไทย
colleague,
และ
Mr. Diki
ใน
Komar,
จาการ์ตานะครับ
Shashid
คุณ
Affairs,
แล้วก็
Deputy
คุณ
Chief
ที่คุณมา
Commission
ซึ่ง
of the Indonesian Embassy,
จากสถานทูต
in
ของ
Bangkok,
อินโดนีเซีย
Thailand.
ในประเทศไทยกรุงเทพ
Excellencies,
พนัก
distinguished
ท่าน
participants, ladies
ผู้
and
มีเกียรติ
gentlemen,
ทั้งท่านแล้ว
a
ก็
very good morning.
สุภาพบุรุษสตรีทุกท่านก็
Let me
ขอสวัสดีนะ
start
ครับ
by
ขอเริ่ม
the
ต้น
word that I
จาก
learned in Bangkok
สิ่
last
ง
night.
ที่ผมเรียนรู้จาก
To
กรุงเทพ
say,
เมื่อ
please forgive
คืน
my
ก่อนนะครับ
pronunciation.
ก็ขอโทษด้วยถ้าผมออกเสียง
Kwan
ผิดนะครับ
Suk Matukrang Makrung Tep. I am always happy every time I go to Bangkok. And my routine, if I go to
แล้วก็
Bangkok, is
ทุกครั้งที่
always
ผมมาที่กรุงเทพเนี่ย
food street
ก็จะต้อง
Somtap. That's
ไป
my
กินส้ม
favorite.
ตำนะครับแถวร้านประมาณ
I'm greatly
แถว
honored
ถน
to
น
be here today
ก็รู้สึก
to
ยิน
meet
ดี
all
มาก
of
ที่ได้
you
มาในที่นี่
on
วันนี้มา
this
เจอกับทุกท่านนะครับ
business
ใน
seminar,
การประชุม
which aims
เชิงธุร
to
กิจ
promote trade
เพื่อ
and
ที่จะส่ง
investment
เสริมการ
cooperation
ค้าและการลงทุน
between
และความร่วม
Indonesia
มือ
and
ระหว่าง
Thailand.
ประเทศอินโดนีเซียและประเทศ
Let
ไท
me
ย
thank the
ก็
Ministry
อยา
of
กจะข
Foreign
อขอบ
Affairs
คุณ
of the
กระทรวง
Kingdom
การ
of
ต่างประเทศ
Thailand
แห่งราช
for
อาณาจักรไทย
arranging
ในการจัด
today's
งาน
seminar,
สัมมนาในครั้ง
and
นี้
special thanks
และขอขอบ
to
คุณ
my colleague,
เป็นพิ
my
เศษ
special
ร่ว
colleague,
มงาน
Kun
ที่มีความพิเศษ
Pichayapan,
ของ ผมก็คือคุณ
for
พิชยพันธ์
warmly welcoming
ที่
me
ได้
and my
ต้อนรับ
delegation,
ผมแล้วก็ตัวแท
as
น
well as
จากประ
for
เทศของ
the
ผม
special
รวมถึง
dinner last night
เอ่อ
at a very
การทานมื้อค่ำเมื่อ
delicious,
คืนนี้ซึ่งอา
very
หาร
good
อร่อย
restaurant
มากแล้วก็ร้านอาหารก็ดี
Suraisai
มากๆด้วย
last night.
ที่
Thank you very much,
เมื่อ
Kun.
คืนนี้ขอบคุณมากๆนะครับ
Excellencies,
พระนาท่าน
Thailand and Indonesia
ประเทศไทย
have
และอินโดนีเซี
every
ย
reason
ได้
to
ก็
forge
มี
and
เหตุผล
maintain
มากมายในการ
strong
ที่จะ
relations.
ยังรักษาความ
Since the
สัมพันธ์
8th
อันแน่นแน่น
century,
เอาไว้
the days of Sriwijaya
ซึ่ง
Kingdom in Indonesia,
ตั้งแต่
the partnership
การร่วม
and
มือของ
friendship
อินโดนีเซีย
between
แล้วก็มิตร
Indonesia
ภาพระหว่างประเทศ
and
ไทยและอินโด
Thailand
นีเซียเนี่ย
have been tied
ได้
particularly
มีความหนา
in
แน่น
trade
แน่นหนัก
and
เหนี
social
ยวแน่นมาก
cultural
ขึ้นแล้วก็รวม
sectors.
ถึงในแง่ของสังคมและ
History
วัฒนธรรม
has
ด้วย
recorded
ซึ่ง
3
ใน
times
ประวัติ
of
เนี่ย
high-level
ก็
visits
จะ
by King
เห็น
Rama
ว่า
V to Java
พระบาทสมเด็จ
in the
พระเจ้าอยู่หัวรัช
19th
กาลที่
and
9 ก็
20th
ได้
century.
มาที่ประเทศ
On
อิ
the
นโด
other
นีเซีย
hand,
ถึง3 ครั้ง
we
แล้ว
are also
และ
aware
นอกจากนี้เนี่ยเรายัง
about
ทรา
the
บดีว่า
fourth generation of
รุ่
Indonesian
นที่
communities
4นะคะของ
living in
ชุมชน
harmony
ใน
in Thailand.
อินโด
I
นีเซี
think
ย
one of
เนี่ย
the
ก็ตอนนี้
example
เนี่ย
is
ได้
Ambassador Sufan,
มีการมา
and
อาศัย
I
อยู่ในประเทศ
recognize
แทนอย่าง
the
ประเทศไทย
existence
อย่างมี
of
ความสอดคล้
Kampung
องด้วย
Java or
อย่า
Java
งเช่นคน
village
ที่มาจาก
and
อยู่
Makassar
ก็
or
คืออยู่
Makassar
ใน
village
บริเวณมักกะสัน
as
ห
well
มู่บ้าน
as
มักกะสันแล้ว
Indonesian
ก็กำปง
mosques
ฟัง
here.
ซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยก็มีคนอินโด
All
นี
of
เซียอยู่
them
มากที่สุดใน
are
ที่นี้
located
ทุกคน
in
เนี่ยก็
Bangkok. This
มี
is
ทุกอยู่
our
ในกรุง
appreciation
เทพ
and
หมด
also
ซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยผม
recognition
ก็รู้สึกซาบ
the
ซึ้ง แล้วก็
plurality
รับ
and the
รู้
tolerance
ถึง
of the Thai people.
ความอดทนนะคะ
Today,
ของคนไทย
the close
แล้วก็มีความยอม
relations
รับ
are
ในชาว
reflected
ต่างชาติ
by
มากๆเลย
various
ซึ่งตรง
visits
นี้เนี่ย
from
จะ
the
เห็น
royal
ว่า
family,
มี
leaders,
เอ่อ
ministers,
ทาง
high-level
ทาง
officials
เอ่อ
to public
ทาง
community.
สมเด็จพระเจ้าอยู่หัวแล้วก็
I
ทาง
strongly
ครอบครัว
believe
นะคะแล้วก็
the
ทาง
strong, the long
เอ่อ
history
รัฐมนตรีกระทรว
of
งต่างๆเนี่ย
friendship
ก็ได้มาที่
is
อินโดนีเซี
our
ยหลาย
main
ครั้งจะ
asset
เห็นว่าเรามี
to
มิตรภา
build
พที่ดำเนินไป
a
อย่าง
stronger
มาเป็นเวลา
partnership
ยาวนานแล้วนอกจาก
for
นี้
the
ยังมีความ
benefit,
ร่วมมือ
for
เพื่อ
the
ที่
mutual
สร้างให้
benefit
เกิด
of the two countries
ประโยชน์
and
ใน
the two
อ
people.
ย่างสอดคล้องกันสำหรับทั้งประเทศ
Distinguished
และก็ประชาชนของ
participants,
เราสำหรับผู้มีเกียรติผู้
Indonesia
เข้าร่วม
and
งานทุกท่าน
Thailand
อินโดนีเซียและประเทศ
enjoyed
ไทยเนี่ย
strong
ก็ได้
and
มี
positive
ความ
economic growth.
มีการเติบโต
Bilateral
เศรษฐกิจ
trade
ในเชิงบ
grew
วกแล้วก็มีความ
significantly
เข้มแข็ง
from
ซึ่ง
US
ตรงนี้
dollar
เนี่ยจะเห็นว่า
13.59 billion
มี
in
คุณมี
2015
มูลค่านะคะ
to US dollar
13,500 ดอลลาร์ตั้งแต่
15.74
ปี
billion
2015
in
ซึ่งตอนนี้เนี่ย
2017,
ก็เพิ่มขึ้น
an
เป็นปี
increase of
2017 นะคะก็คือตอนนี้เนี่ยถึง
15.82%. Both countries are
15.2% แล้วทั้ง
important
สองประเท
trading
ศนี้เนี่ย
partners
ก็
for
เป็น
each other.
คู่ค้าที่
Indonesia
สำคัญ
is
มากๆอินโดนี
Thailand's
เซียกับ
10th
ประเทศไทยเนี่ย
trade partner
ก็คือ
and
เป็น
vice
คู่ค้า
versa.
กัน
Kun
ในเว
Pichayapan
ลานั้น
has
คุณ
stated
พิยพันธ์
earlier
ก็ได้
on
บ
the
อกมาก่อนหน้า
investment
นี้ว่าใน
sector
การ
in which
ภาคส่วนการลงทุน
Thailand is
ของ
ranked
ประเทศไทย
12th
เนี่ยตอนนี้
as the source of FDI in Indonesia. This achievement will not be possible without strong collaboration from both sides. In this context, allow me also to mention the Thai business entities who are very active in Indonesia: Siam Cement Group, Bangkok Bank, Banpu Corporation, Charun Pophan, PTT Group, and Thaikon Industrial Connection Company. In the past 2 years, several Thai companies also started or expanded their investment in Indonesia. And in this regard, I wish to invite and encourage the Thai companies and businessmen to continue investing in Indonesia. On the other hand, I also witnessed the increasing number of Indonesian companies doing business in Thailand, reaching 128 companies as of today. To mention some of them: Dynaplus, Pertamina Lubricants, Thai Lion Air, as well as Samudra Indonesia. I also acknowledge several Indonesian state-owned companies and enterprises, namely PT Dirgantara, PT Industri Kereta Api, PT Pindad, and PT PAL, who have excellent business relations with their counterpart in this country. We have a great hope that the relation will go stronger and stronger. Excellencies, Indonesia and Thailand share similar views on many issues of common concern, including on the economic issues. We have to work together to respond to the growing global challenges and uncertainties, not only bilaterally, but also at the regional and multilateral forum. Indeed, Indonesia has taken ambitious reform to address economic structural problems, but also at the same time, we apply a prudent macroeconomic policy with a modest growth of around 5%, as well as low and stable inflation rate of 3.6% last year. In investment sector, since 2015, Indonesian government has issued 12 economic policy packages to improve investment climate. The Indonesian Investment Coordinating Board, BKPM, has implemented 3 key reforms to assist investor, one-stop service office, 3-hour licensing provision, and direct construction facility. And my colleague from BKPM later on will elaborate more on this policy. Indonesia's rank, as Kun Pichayapan has stated earlier, has also risen on our ease of doing business index has risen to 72 from 109 in 2 years. And we will continue to progress by improving the synergy among ministries, institutions, local governments, and private sectors. We are also focusing on attracting more FDI in several priority areas, namely manufacture, infrastructure including power plants, agriculture, maritime, tourism, and the establishment of special economic zones and industrial estates. Currently, there are 35 sectors that are open for foreign direct investment, among others, logistics, the digital economy, energy, pharmaceutical, the film industry, tourism, storage, sports, film processing labs, rubber industry, e-commerce with the marketplace value above $7.2 million, and toll road operators. Distinguished participants, during the World Economic Forum on ASEAN in Hanoi on the 12th of September earlier, ASEAN leaders expressed their support for promoting trade and economic ties, particularly in the context of making use the transformative technological potential of the fourth industrial revolution. Indonesia and Thailand share some policies to utilize this development. Thai government has implemented Thai 4.0 policy to bring its economic towards an innovation-driven economy. Likewise, last August, Indonesian government has launched the roadmap and strategy of making Indonesia 4.0 to increase its competitiveness at the global level. In this regard, I feel both countries have similar strong point in human resources, especially the young generation. We must facilitate their creativity and talent in advanced technology. In this connection, I am also pleased to welcome the progress of the draft MOU on creative industry, on creative economy, between the Board of Creative Economy BECRAF of Indonesia and the Creative Economy Agency SEA of Thailand, and hopefully to be signed soon. I believe the plan of action of the MOU will be very beneficial for both countries and nations. Excellencies, initiatives of collaboration and innovation among us are key points not only to flourish our bilateral economic relations, but also bring our region to be one of the largest economy. I acknowledge that our two countries have bilateral mechanism in economic sectors, among others, Joint Trade Committee, Energy Forum, and Joint Agricultural Working Group. Those mechanisms need to be utilized and promoted to ensure their effective implementation and progress. We extend our full support for the implementation of all bilateral agreements made by both countries, and I am confident that we can do it better and better. We can advance together. And in this regard, let me quote a Thai proverb that I would like to mention. Kwam pakdi yu tinai, kwam samrep yu tinan. When there is a will, there is a way. Finally, I would like to again thank you, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, and also my colleague at the Indonesian Embassy in Bangkok for organizing this meeting. I wish you all have a productive discussion among panelists and participants. Thank you and Khop Kun Kap.
Thank you, Excellency. May I invite you, Excellency, to stay on the stage, and also invite His Excellency Director General Pichayapan and all the speakers, panelists, and moderator to the stage for a group photo, please. All right. Thank you very much. So shortly we will begin with our next program. Our seminar today will be separated into two sessions. First, we'll begin with presentations from representatives of the government of Thailand and Indonesia. Then that will be followed by a short question and answer session. And then we'll go on to the panel discussion. And also we have a question and answer session in the end as well. All right, so I think we are about to be ready for our next session. I'd like to invite Mr. Indra Damawan from Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board of BKPM, and Ms. Panni Chengsutta from the Thailand's Board of Investment onto the stage to be seated on the stage, please. Just a brief introduction. Mr. Indra Damawan is currently the Director of the Standardization of Investment Licensing at the BKPM, and he has had a long-standing professional career as Director in BKPM in charge of various fields, such as international cooperation, promotion, planning, training, and development. He holds a PhD in urban and regional planning from Flinders University, Australia, and a master's degree from the London School of Economics. And Kun Panni is currently a senior investor advisor at the Thailand's Board of Investment. She graduated from Kasetsart University and obtained her MBA from the University of Wales. She has had extensive experience working in the field of investment promotion. She was previously posted as the head of BOI office in Paris, covering FDI promotion in Western Europe. She now advises BOI on investment promotion activities. All right, so I'd like to first invite Mr. Indra Damawan to give his presentation at the podium, please. Thank you.
Excellencies, Director Generals, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sawadika. Thank you for having me for this in this wonderful occasion on the going forward Thailand-Indonesia Trade and Investment Cooperation. Thank you so much once again. Today, I would like to share with you some brief points on the big pictures of the Indonesian investment map, as you know. So I will start with directly with the big pictures. We can deal with the details later on if you are interested in the question and answer sessions. So I will start to share with you about the pictures of Thailand investment to Indonesia to start the discussions. In the next slide, we can see the Thailand investment in Indonesia in terms of plan and in terms of realizations. So this is the 5 years data that I have. The plan shows the trends of going downward and then moving up a little bit, whilst the realization is show relatively a little bit flat. In terms of plan commitment, investment from Thailand ranked number 6 in Indonesia. So the 6th biggest source of investment in terms of plan or commitment. In terms of realizations, it's usually moving on the rank of 14, 15, something like that in terms of realizations. So in the next slide, we can see also the pictures of the source of FDI to Indonesia. We can see on top of the list, number 1 is still Singapore. But as you know, it could be Canadian who set up office in Singapore. It could be Thailand company set up office in Singapore. It could be Indonesian company who set up office in Singapore and enter Indonesia as a foreign company. It's a common practice. So the second largest one is Japan, followed by China and South Korea. China is quite interesting. They don't even the top 5 or top 10 4, 5 years ago. So they just moving up pretty quickly just recently. They engage in the natural resources processing and also the infrastructures. And recently, the e-commerce. So you can imagine just one company from China, Alibaba, invest in just one country, Indonesia, and invest in just one company in Indonesia, Tokopedia, is 1 billion. And also on the Lazada, 1 billion. So 2 billions just like that. So just recently, the growth of the e-commerce is pretty fantastic, and this is also open some windows of opportunity widely to other companies, like probably from Thailand is Pricesa, is it Pricesa? Companies like Pricesa have pretty much good opportunity to grow even further. So on the leak of the realization Indonesia by country of origin, Thailand ranks number 14 and sometimes number 15. So in which sectors the Thailand investment? We can see that on the non-metallic mineral industries, chemical and pharmaceutical. So it's basically on the secondary sectors. Where are they? On the next slide, we can see the location of those Thailand industry. Still on West Java and Banten, the most populated region, the closest to the capital, the closest to the main airport. Still, whilst on the South Sumatra, just beginning, and the other is still also on the more urbanized area. The next slide, we can see the names of Thailand investor in Indonesia 5 years from now. This is not covering all of the big names. I just mentioned the one that we have the record on that, like a cement, and then chemicals, and then automotive, like Indonesia Thai Summit Auto, and then trading company, and also sugar company, and also food crops. So that's, ladies and gentlemen, basically the pictures of of Thailand investment in Indonesia. Every year, we in the investment board receive business delegation from Thailand 2 or 3 times. That's pretty normal. And during that visit by business people from Thailand, we exchange information on potentials. Also, we assist them to go further. So if you have some interest or you have some issues about the investment in Indonesia, please let us know. Visit us during your visit to Jakarta, or maybe see me during the break if you have some questions, further issue that you want to raise. So can we just going back to some previous slide on the just 2 slides before that pictures. Terus. Lagi. Yes, this one. This fact make our life in investment board easier. The fact say that it goes without saying. The potential, the demographic, the fact that our population is pretty young, half of them age below 30. So you can see those youngsters will not even enough for coffee, for fashion, for food and beverage, for film, for lifestyle, for tea, for gadget, anything. So this should be a huge potential that you have to look at for some horizon of times. And also, during the survey from the McKinsey, they predicted the consuming class will grow almost double every 10 years. So now it's currently about 45 million consuming class with pretty strong spending. And they will be double to 85 in 2020s. And then if we use the pessimistic scenario, it will be rising into 135 millions in 2030. If it is pessimistic, it will reach around 170. So have a look at the right bottom graph of the slides. There are some sectors that you can have a look a little bit deeper, closer, as it is the most, I think, potential, very big potentials in the near future. So, food and beverage, leisure, apparel will be a huge, huge market. For those who invest in that particular sectors will definitely make a lot of money. So you can use also this information to expand your existing operations. The next slide shows that what do Indonesian government do to support all of this. We have heard the previous speaker mention about the ease of doing business ranking. We were the top performer last year, jumped 30 points, but the President Jokowi is still not happy. He said, I won 40. So from 72 to 40 is what we are doing right now. So far, we have succeeding in cutting the number of days in starting a business from usually 47 days to start a business to 3 hours. So we cut from 47 days to 3 hours. Now we want to cut it a little bit further to maybe half an hour. We are introducing the so-called OSS, the online single submissions. It's a 2 months effort. It's still pretty much quite a big effort to solve, to make everybody on board, to make the business sectors really understand. So again, if you have some issue on OSS, I believe those of you who are just begin or just starting to do a business will find that an issue. Please see me in the break. If you have some issue, we can discuss about what kind of problems that they currently face. So it's basically an online system of licensing. You can go to the oss.go.id. So from your smartphone. So not perfect yet, but we are right on track. And this is also in line with the current path or trajectory of the reform that currently undertaken by the Indonesian government. These on the slide you can see just the result that the rank of is doing business improving, and then the investment grade from rating agencies, they're all pointing into the investment grade status, the improvement in global competitiveness index, and also the Gallup World Poll on the trust to the government by the investors. So as a closing, I just want to add two more sectors that you probably have to look a little bit deeper. That is the sectors that grow faster than the national average economic growth. Economic growth usually hovering around 5.2, 5.3, but these two sectors is a two-digit. It's more than 10%. These sectors are tourism and digital economy. So these two sectors, I think, will be the backbone for the rapid development in investment in Indonesia in the coming years. So tourism currently enjoy pretty impressive growth. Take for example, by the arrival from Chinese investor, which is pretty visible. For those of you who know Manado in Sulawesi, in North Sulawesi, they are experiencing a boom in tourist arrival from China just because of the opening of the charter flight directly from Guangzhou to Manado. And suddenly the number of tourists from China jumped from 12,000 a year to 12,000 a month. Thanks to the connectivity, thanks to direct flight, thanks to the package, affordable package developed by the e-commerce and the digital economy players. They develop affordable package like 2,000, 3,000 yuan from China to Manado. It's very affordable. And that kind of things. So tourism is not only the business of developing the tourist destination, but also developing the connectivity business, and also the digital economy. So I think I will stop there, and I will be more than happy to entertain your question later. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I would like now to invite Kun Pani Seng Sutta to give her presentation at the podium. Thank you.
Excellency, Director General, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I have to thank you, extend my thanks to Ministry of Foreign Affairs who give us the Board of Investment, and we on behalf to speak on the investment incentives measures and also the topic that you assigned the Board of Investment to speak today. Without further ado, because my presentation will take about 15 minutes and trying to be less than that so that it will not interfere
representative office in Singapore. And next we have Mr. Thanawat Malabupha. He is the CEO and co-founder of Priza, and he's also the president of the Thai E-Commerce Association. And our last panelist is Mr. Vikon Pongsathorn. He's a business support director of SCG Indonesia. And last but not least, our moderator, we have with us Mr. Dani Abdi. He's the director for Southeast Asian Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. But Dani, you have the floor. We have about 1 hour. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, the Foreign Ministry of Thailand, and also the Indonesian Embassy in Bangkok, for making this business forum, to organize this business forum today. Actually, we plan to have this seminar during the GCM last time in Yogyakarta. But I think for a forum like this, nothing is late. We need to continue doing this, because I think working as the director for Southeast Asia, I realized that political-wise, we have no problem at all. So working as government officials, when I talk to my colleague from the Thai embassy, from the foreign ministry, from other officials, I have no problem at all. But when we are trying to transform that good relationship into economic beneficial relations, and then we have to talk about a lot of details, talks about working with the business people, with the private sectors, talk about infrastructure, facilities, regulation, a lot of things. So we really welcome this kind of opportunity for us to meet with the business people, as explained by our Director General, Pak Desra Percaya, and the Director General of Asian Affairs from East Asian Affairs from Thailand, that this is a follow-up of the last GCM in Yogyakarta. And with us, we have the prominent speakers from both sides that can elaborate what kind of opportunities in front of us for the business people from both sides, Indonesia and Thailand. And the first question, what we would like to discuss is on doing business in Indonesia. I would like to invite Mr. Vikon to share his experience in doing business in Indonesia and why his company SCG went into Indonesia, and what are the opportunities for Thai companies in Indonesia. And I'll give Mr. Vikon 5 minutes to share his experience. So Mr. Vikon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pak Dani. Sawadee krap, selamat pagi, all distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to talk a little bit about what we have been doing in Indonesia. So I have 2-3 pages of slides that I can show with you also. So SCG, we start invest in Indonesia in 1995, first with the trading office, and also some manufacturing company for building materials. And then the big growth of SCG happened after year 2011. That's when we did a lot of M&As in these countries. And right now we have a total of 28 subsidiaries in the countries. And our business consists of 3 main operations. First one is cement building materials. Second one is the petrochemical. And the third one is packaging. Is it? Anyway, I'll continue. So right now, our total investment size around 1.6 billion USD already. And then we intend to continue to grow. Sorry. This is our milestone in Indonesia. And then our total employee over there is around 7,000 number of people. So first of all, I would like to answer the question about why we decided to go to Indonesia at the first place. So at the year of 2008, that's when Kun Karn, our previous CEO, became our president. So at the time, we analyzed the situation and saw that the growth in Thailand is quite stagnant comparing to other countries within the region. So let me give you some example. Let's say for cement industry. For Indonesia, the growth of cement industry on average recorded 6%, 7% almost every year, where in Thailand is only 2-3%. Some certain year has negative growth. So we see that, okay, this is one of the key reasons. The second thing is the consumption per capita in Indonesia for most of the building material industry is quite low. For example, for cement, the average consumption per capita in Indonesia is only 250 kilograms per person per year, where in Thailand is 600 kilograms per person per year. So you can see that there's a lot of room to grow in Indonesia. And lastly, with the sheer size of Indonesia population, I think most of the multinational companies, including some of the conglomerate in Thailand, also see this as a big opportunity to invest in these countries. So that's why we went in. And to answer the last question about the what is the potential opportunity for other Thai company, I believe that we need to see Indonesia not only as one total countries. We need to analyze as each individual particular location, because Indonesia is a very big country. If you count from, let's say, the most western part to the most eastern part of Indonesia, it's the same distance as from Bangkok to Tokyo. It's very big. So in any given point in time, any particular industry, you can see that within some certain location, there's always unmet demand or lack of supply in some particular products. So for example, the cement industry, even though the total capacity in Indonesia is around 105 million tons per year, and then the demand is only 67, but then again, some certain locations have a shortage of product. So this is the opportunity. We need to find the right approach and right strategy to just implement over there and then get into this particular segment that we want. So I believe that if you are SME or a big company from Thailand and would like to invest in Indonesia, you need to go into the market first, analyze situation in your target market, and then adapt your strategy accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fikor. I think when it was just the right time when you enter Indonesia in 1996, and I believe you enjoy the development of this industry. And I think with the current policy of the government, try to boost the infrastructure. I think this industry getting, I think, a bigger opportunity, in fact. And the second speaker, Mr. Thanawat, I think if we are talking about the heavy industry like cement, now we are talking about the digital economy, the future economy. So the question for you is to share your experience in doing business in Indonesia, especially in e-commerce. What are the opportunities for Thai SMEs in Indonesia? And yeah, we'll be grateful if you can share with us. Please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. สวัสดีครับ Selamat pagi. Okay. For us, we start in a different mindset with SCG. SCG is a conglomerate that has a very big resource. For us, we start expansion to Indonesia early when our business is very small. The reason behind this decision was that for technology company, there is no too early to expansion. When you want to expand your digital business abroad, the cost of expansion is very low comparing to the heavy industry. There is no big investment in order for you to expand your digital business abroad, especially for our business. I have some data to share with you on my slide today. Okay, I will start with my question to the audience here. Can you guess that what is the percentage of the e-commerce penetration comparing to the total value of the retail value in Thailand and Indonesia? What is the percentage? Can anyone guess the value of the e-commerce? Can you guess? 20%? Okay, so from the research of the Google and Temasek, the e-commerce penetration in Southeast Asia, the value is only about 1% to 2% only. So that means right now, the penetration of the e-commerce in Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia, Thailand, is at the very beginning. Yeah, we can just compare to other markets. We talk about investment from China, right? Alibaba. In China, do you know what? The e-commerce penetration in China right now is 20%. So that means when we compare the penetration, we see the future that the potential of the e-commerce in this region can be 10x in the future. That's why Alibaba and Jack Ma invest a lot. That you mentioned that they invest in Tokopedia. That is one of the unicorn in Indonesia. So that is the big potential for the digital economy in this region. Okay. Another of my hat is I am the president of Thai E-commerce Association. We see the potential of this market, so we try to promote and empower Thai e-commerce seller to not only sell in the domestic market, we try to promote them to sell their product to other markets in China, in Taiwan, in Europe, in the US, and Indonesia as well. That is what we are trying to do. And another of my role is running the tech company. We are a small company. Right now we have around only 80 people. We founded this company since 2010. We start in Thailand and we expand to Indonesia in 2013, as I mentioned. Okay, what we do is like this. Prisa is the shopping search engine. So we don't sell product directly to the consumer, but we acting like the aggregator. So when consumer want to buy something, they have a question: how can I get the best price? How can I compare very easy? Especially in this region, in Thailand, in Indonesia. In Indonesia, there are many e-commerce players, right? They are fighting very hard. There are Tokopedia, Lazada, Shopee, Bukalapak, Blibli, Elevenia, Lotte, right? There are many of them. So the problem for consumer is, how can I compare price? And those problem is the same with Thai consumer. So we learn and study that the consumer behavior of Thai people and Indonesian is very similar. So we start in Thailand and we look at Indonesia because Indonesia is a very big country to over 250 million population. So we made decision, okay, we don't want to just stay in Thailand. We want to expand fast. So we expand to Indonesia fast. Okay, this is the timeline of our company. So we got investment from two investors. The first one was in 2013 from the Japanese VC called Cyber Agent Venture, and the last one was in 2016 from the Germany media company called Hubert Berda Media. So we grow every year since we start our business. Last year we have over 170 million visits using our platform through the 6 market. Right now we operate in 6 markets. Yeah, even we are a small company, what we think different in terms of, okay, we want to expand fast because the cost of expansion of our business is not that huge comparing to the heavy business. So we start to think that, okay, we want to expand first, and let's try to hustle to see that how can we grow on each market that we expand to. Okay, this is the reason why we made decision to expand. This is the value, the projection of the value of the e-commerce market in Southeast Asia. Yeah, as we discussed in the very beginning that the growth of this digital economy in this region is double digit. It shows here that the e-commerce value is on average it is over 30% on average growth year on year. So that's why we made decision to expand to Indonesia. So just want to summarize just for right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thanawat. So from the 2 speakers, from the business people from Thailand, one conclusion: the opportunity is very big in Indonesia. Whether you talk about heavy industry like cement, or you want to talk about digital or e-commerce to do business in Indonesia. And now I would like to hear the response from the 2 previous speakers. I would like to hear from Mr. Ramdan. Mr. Ramdan will speak on based on the perspective. He's the official from the Central Bank of Indonesia, now stationed in Singapore. Perhaps you can comment on the explanation from the 2 previous speakers. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pak Denny. Same name with me. I will share my view as a central banker when to give all of you that's why Indonesia is the right place to invest the money. If we talk about the Indonesian economic growth, I think among the G20 countries, Indonesia is number 3 highest of economic growth after China and India. And I think among the G20 country, Indonesia growth is most stable, because in the last 5 years, the economic growth in Indonesia is around 5%. This year, we predicted that the economic growth of Indonesia is 5.2%, and I think next year is around the same, 5.2, 5.3%. Around 60% the source of growth is come from the huge demand, domestic demand. So that's why in the last 5 years also, the growth of domestic demand of Indonesia is stable around 5%. And you can imagine that, let's say in 2045, that Indonesia will have around 200 million people in the middle income class. So we think that the growth of the economy in Indonesia will be higher and higher. And I will say that Indonesia has around more than 30 provinces, 34 provinces, and majority of province, the growth is around 4 until 5%. The economic Indonesia is 60% come from Java Island, and the growth economic in Java Island now is around 5.7, 5.8%. So that's why many people say when any trade war between China and US, or maybe between US and other rest of the world, so no, will be no big impact to Indonesia economy because we have a very huge number of domestic demand. And of course, if you talk about the inflation rate of Indonesia, in Indonesia now, the inflation rate's around 3 until 3.5% in the last 4 years. And we think that this is the lowest level in the Indonesia history. If you remember that in 1998, the inflation of Indonesia is around 80%, and 2005, the inflation of Indonesia around 13%. 2013 is around 8%, and the last 4 years, our inflation rate is 3 until 3.5%. And for Indonesia, the government and Central Bank of Indonesia is the most important also to manage the inflation low and stable, because we have to maintain and we have to increase the wealth of the people. And in the long term, Indonesia will any potential to decrease the inflation, the interest rate, if our inflation is still low and stable. So that's why to decrease the inflation, the interest rate. So that's why we will accelerate the domestic demand and the growth of the economy. And how Indonesia serious to manage the inflation? We now have more than 500 organizations. We call regional inflation control team. So every province, every city, we have the team like that, and coordination with Bank Indonesia, local government, university, the police, the army, how to manage the inflation, how to make the supply of volatile food is still in the fair price. So that's why for the central bank perspective, we have the strong fundamental economic, we have good in economic growth, we can maintain the inflation rate. So that's why I think that the future of Indonesia it will be better and better. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ramdan. That was the perspective from the Central Bank of Indonesia. Now, I would like to invite Pak Yos. He's from Chamber of Commerce of Indonesia, so he can share with us the perspective from the business society on how to invest in Indonesia. Please, you have the floor, Pak Yos.
Thank you, Pak Dani. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very honored to be in this panel. Secondly, the previous speakers, I think, makes my stay and makes my job as part of Representative Kadin much easier. First, we clearly see that the two governments are extremely supportive of the business players. And second, the two Thai investors in Indonesia, they said all about the good things and exactly encouraging all of you to go to Indonesia and start investing. To be quite frank, Kadin, if you can help showing page 27, just to give a little bit of background about what Kadin is on page 27. We have thousands of members, and I think I receive more complaint to from my own members than the two gentlemen that has been very kindly, Mr. Vikorn and Mr. Tanawat, to say that Indonesia is the best place to invest, go and invest in Indonesia. So I'd like to, let's give a round of applause to both Mr. Vikorn and Mr. Tanawat. Indonesia is a big country. There are lots of business entities. We set up, okay, that's the page. business associations for very obvious reasons. There are lots of issues, not the technical issues. I think when we are a business people, we understand the technicalities of what we are trying to do. But the regulatory issues, the community issues, the culture issues, and this is where I think most of our members are facing, and therefore when we receive investors from abroad, this is usually the areas where we spend most of the time to discuss. It's of interest of Kadin as representative of Indonesia business community to engage and interact in a way that is reciprocally beneficial with foreign investor or foreign partners. It is easier for us also to convey what's needed for the government to modify when not only just the local players who said it, but it's also the foreign players. I don't know what will be the right terminology. Is it collaboratively competitive or competitively collaborating? But we are trying to transform our mind, and we are aggressively trying to convert our members' perspective that it is actually for the benefit of Indonesian business player to open up for the global players, including from Thailand, to invest and be part of Indonesian economy, then trying to be more protective. I think we try to use lots of examples. When we used to have monopoly, a certain sector to be monopolized, and then we introduce competition, in the end, not only it is good for the customer, which most of the customer obviously are very looking forward to it, but it's actually good for the business player. And I'm very encouraged with earlier presentations that both the investment board of Indonesia and Thailand are actually promoting not just the inward investment, but outward investment. I think this is very important. I think the country should be promoting, if the sequence, according to my opinion, should be promoting the outward first. When we have our door open for the foreigners, there is no other way for the foreigners to also open their doors. We often criticize our members to say that, hey, it doesn't make sense. You are part of the trade missions overseas and trying to knock on the door of foreign government to open their door, while at the same time you are asking Indonesian government to be more protective. It does not make sense. In fact, what makes more sense is invest first outside, get them to be comfortable that you are actually as helpful and as beneficial to their economy, then you will get much easier investment to your country. So I think, again, great appreciation for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also for the business community in Thailand. From Kadin, I'm very thankful. Good stories, but I can tell you there are lots of much more difficult stories which I'll be willing to share in the later part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Yos. And that was the first part of this panel discussion. We are talking about how to do business and opportunities in Indonesia. If I may make some points from the discussions, because we don't have much time. After this, we are going to discuss about doing business in Thailand. For the first part, what I can get from the discussion is, first, there is a strong support from the two governments. So we can witness how the two governments working together to make this business seminar today. So Pak Yos, I think from Chamber of Commerce of Indonesia, saying that there is a strong support from the government. However, I think the homework is how to make this support more effective. I think we need to do more coordination. I think there is still challenges from the business society on the ground when they try to, to make the business bigger. So this is the challenges from the government side. And talking about opportunity is very big. In Indonesia is number 4 in terms of population in the world, number 1 in Southeast Asia. Just talking about one sector, e-commerce, currently only taking 1% of the potential. So you can imagine how big this business can be in the future. And then we also, not just in terms of population, but also the young population in Indonesia. They are at the productive age, they are very active, they are very creative. So both sides, the government as well as the business society, need to help this young generation to make their entering the innovative, environment, to make the business more robust. And then what is also important, I think, to change the mindset. I think from the previous session, from the 2 speakers from the BKPM and the Investment Board of Thailand, that we can see that both sides are trying to provide the best services for the business society. But we think because in Indonesia, the administration is very big. There are many officials that you have to deal with, from central government to provincial government. So we need to work hard. We need to help people to change the mindset and try to, to making better and better for the future business between the 2 countries. I think that's all that I can say as the summary. So please allow me to enter the second session of this panel discussion on doing business in Thailand. And for that, I will provide Mr. Ramdan with a 5-minute opportunity to share his views on doing business in Thailand. Mr. Ramdan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pak Denny. Again, I will share about the central banker view and how to do the business in Thailand. Last year, maybe nobody expect that the economic of US as strong as like this year. So this year, many predicted that the US economy will be around 2.5%, and I think it's really high. So that's why the impact of inflation in the US. So that's why if we look at how Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America, increased their Federal Reserve funds this year, will be around 4 times. And that's why the plan of the Federal Reserve, the impact is it can be any huge capital outflow from emerging market country to the safe haven country. So we can observe that almost all currency in the world is under pressure against the US dollar. If I list my data, year to date, in the India rupiah depreciated around 12%. Indonesia rupiah depreciated 9%. China depreciated 5.5%. Turkey 60%. Argentina 40%. Russia 9%. But Thailand baht stronger. It's amazing. Year to date stronger 0.45%. And how to defend the currency, most of central bank have to increase the policy rate. Like Indonesia yesterday, we increased the policy rate 25 basis point. So this year, Central Bank of Indonesia had increased the policy rates 150 basis point. And if we look the several central banks in the world, Bank of England increased the policy rate 25 basis point just to defend the currency. India increased 50 basis point year to date. Turkey almost 1,000 basis point just to defend the currency. But again, Bank of Thailand never increased the policy rate since April 2015. So, for the central bank perspective, this picture, currency and interest rate is more than enough to share with the businessmen how strong fundamental economy in Thailand. So that's why Thailand this year is one of the best performing currency in the world. Congratulations.
Thank you, Pak Ramdhani. So we hear a lot of confidence to the stability of currency in Thailand, and I think stability is one of the things that the business people also always looking for when they start to invest or try to expand their business in a country. Now I would like to hear from Mr. Yos the same questions. Your views on doing business in Thailand from the perspective of the Chamber of Commerce of Indonesia.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you, Pak Dhani. I'd like to convey what our chairman perspective with regards to getting the Indonesian business community looked at the situations and looked at opportunities around the world. He's basically saying that opportunities are everywhere. Problems and hurdles are also everywhere, but that does not or will not stop success. So what we are focusing today with regard to encouraging our members to make an outward investment is to use the success stories of existing business people, because this will create a lot more better situation than complaining about it is difficult to do this, it's unclear, unpredictable, inconsistent, etc. Unclarity, unpredictability, and inconsistency exist everywhere, not just in Thailand, but also in Indonesia. Indonesian business people also complain about the situations within our own country. So put that one aside. Let's look at those who have been successful. In this particular example, we have Mr. Fikorn and Mr. Tanawat, and use them to encourage people to see that, look, despite all the difficulties, despite all the unclarity, the unpredictability and inconsistency of regulatory environment in Indonesia, we can and we are growing. So this is, I think, the kind of like mindset that we would like to continue to pursue, the kind of like attitude that we hope will not only promote the outward investment of Indonesian to Thailand, but with the more Indonesian companies exist in Thailand, I'm very sure there will be a lot more Thai companies investing in Indonesia, because the bridge will be already built, the relationship will be there, the comfort will be there, and it's a matter of exchanging the experience, leveraging the strength of both countries. So I'm taking a more bullish situations in any case, in any countries, and we are encouraging and try to separate out all those more on the negative sides, members of the business people, and take all the positive one, make them make them into the example, and create a more positive and more satisfactory result. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yos. That is also a very optimistic voice from the business community in Indonesia. Now I would like to turn to Mr. Fikorn, as the businessman, working in Indonesia, but also as the citizen of Thailand. You understand what is the perspective when you sit in Indonesia looking at the opportunities in Thailand. So perhaps you can share with us your views on that one, please.
Thank you, Pak Denny. I think to answer this question, we need to separate into two parts. The first part is that if we think from the perspective of Indonesian company or investor, we need to analyze first what are the industry or the operation that you are a lot better than the investor or company in other countries. I can say that from my personal observation during the last 2-3 years, one of the things that Indonesia does better than other countries is the development of digital economies. So if you been to Indonesia during the past 2-3 years, you see a big change in the way people live from the emergence of Gojek. Believe it or not, nowadays, even for SCG, when we sell cement online, we also ask Gojek to send our product to the customer. Right. We sell online to many marketplaces. So I think this is very obvious. And then also you see a lot of success case for Indonesian startup. Right now there's 4 unicorns in Indonesia already, whereas in Thailand maybe not yet. So I think this is first thing. It's a big opportunity for Indonesian startup or digital sector to come to Thailand and leverage their expertise and use it in here. And it will not only expand their market, but also help improve Thai digital economy as well. So the second part is about the attribute of Thailand itself. So this morning, Khun Pani already present about the investment incentive and the many programs that our government have in terms of investment promotion. One other thing that I found very interesting is the emergence of EEC, Eastern Economic Corridor. I believe that for Indonesia company, if you want to expand into the northern part of Asia or East Asia, EEC will be a good location for you to build up a hub. Logistic-wise, it will be very efficient comparing to send a product directly from, let's say, Indonesia or your production base in certain part of Indonesia. So I think it depends. If you are manufacturers, you might have different approach than if you are the digital sector, because of course the way we do business is a big different. Yeah. And later on, I believe that Khun Thanawat will share more about the digital sector itself. Yeah. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Fikor. And now, since you are talking about the opportunity on the digital economy, I think it's just fair for us to hear from Mr. Thanawat, the expert on digital economy, so you can explain to us how big is the opportunity. We know that currently only 1%, but what do you think? What we can do in the next 5 years or 10 years? What the business people in Indonesia can do in Thailand? Please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Pak Denny. Could you open my slide, please? Get the clicker. Okay, I want to continue showing you the research paper from Google and Temasek. On my last slide, I shared to you that the e-commerce value in Southeast Asia is projected to reach 88 billion US dollar within 2025, right? What about if we break down and look into the major country in the region? Okay, the major region breakdown is, okay, this is the projection, reach 88 billion US dollar within 2025. If we look into it in breakdown, it looks like this. So the biggest market is Indonesia on the topmost. Yeah, in Indonesia, it is projected to be value 46 billion US dollar. That means it is over around 50%, over 50% of the total Southeast Asia e-commerce value. And the second biggest market is Thailand. Yeah, in Thailand, it is projected around 11.1 billion US dollar within 2025. So that means these two big market is very huge potential. If you are the SME and you want to export your product to the country or market in Southeast Asia, Indonesia is one of the big potential market. Yeah, as Pak Ramdan mentioned that the domestic consumption in Indonesia is huge. Whether there are the circumstance of the cross-border or trade, it is not an impact Indonesia because of the big consumption and the growth of the middle class in Indonesia. And when we look into the our data, okay, I want to share with you about the consumer behavior. I will share with you the behavior of Thai people first. This is the research of Thai people. This survey asks the Thai people that when you have smartphone, I believe that right now almost everyone use smartphone, right? The question of this survey was that when you have your smartphone, ask Thai people, do you use your smartphone to help you to make purchase decision? And 99% of them admit that they use their smartphone to help them to make purchase decision. And another question, the follow-up question is that what is the use case? What is the use case that people use smartphone to help them to make purchase? And the use case, the biggest one is like this. 77% of the people use their smartphone to help them to research for the product that they want to buy. When they go to the shop and okay, I test it, and when I want to buy, I don't buy immediately, but I use my smartphone to compare, search for whether this brand is good. And the second biggest use case is compare price with other store. It may be that when you go to the shop and you try the product, but maybe at the end of the day, you buy it from the online store because it is cheaper. And you don't have to go back home by yourself. That is the behavior of Thai user. What about Indonesian? Let's look at about the behavior of Indonesian people. They did the research from Google as well. The type of research done with smartphone of Indonesian, very similar to Thai people. Indonesian people want to compare price, compare product, and compare spec. And when we compare this behavior to the sixth market in Southeast Asia, Indonesians love to compare product and price a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Because every people want to get the best price, want to get a best deal, right? Especially in Indonesia, there are many selection of the product and many selection of the seller, especially in online. Yeah, I want to share you one number. For Prisa, we operate in 6 markets in Southeast Asia. In Thailand, we cover around 30 million items in our platform. But for Indonesia, we cover around 50 million items in our platform, and it is still growing. So I expect that this number will growing to over 100 million items in the next few years. Comparing to China, in Taobao, it has over 1,000 million items in Taobao. So the listing of the product and the selection will growing a lot in the next few years. Okay. Yeah, and this is the platform that we cover. So we cover the platform in Thailand and in Indonesia as well. Okay, this is our platform. Okay, and to share with you some of the demographics so you understand the demographic of the user, of the online user in Indonesia. This is Indonesia. So people in Indonesia that use our platform is tend toward more of the male, around 60%, and female around 40%. And the top product that Indonesian search and compare in our platform is, they use smartphone. 85% use smartphone. So desktop is only 13%. For Thai SME that want to expand and sell the product to Indonesia, you cannot neglect the mobile. Mobile is the first device that Indonesian use. You have to have the mobile strategy. You have to develop the platform to support mobile first, not PC anymore. That is not the first device that Indonesian use. And this is the top product from our data from last year. The biggest category is fashion, very similar to Thailand as well. Fashion, 27%. Yeah. And the second biggest one is automotive. Yeah, as the motorbike, Indonesian love to buy motorbike accessory a lot. And the third biggest one is smartphone. Yeah, that is the top 3 biggest category that Indonesian people search and buy in our platform. Okay, so in summarize, as you can see here, that Thailand and Indonesia has a very similar behavior. Want to get the best price, compare, and the product category, and that, in my conclusion, that bring the opportunity, opportunity of the market. When you have product in Thailand, you can research more what kind of product of you that can attract Indonesian. Thai people and Indonesian is not that very different. There is a big opportunity out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tanawat. I think after listening from the 4 speakers, we are more convinced now that the opportunities is very big. So the seminar today, I think we need to follow up. We have to make it again in Indonesia. Okay, now let's hear from the participants. So we'd like to invite Q&A. So for the first group, I think I would like to invite 3 questions. You can ask anything from how to do business in Indonesia or in Thailand, and I believe our 4 speakers will be happy to answer that. Any questions? Yeah, please.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, and also the official from PKPM and BOI. In fact, I have several questions in my mind, but not to mobilize all that. First question would be for this group of the panelists. You know that we became ASEAN community probably a couple of years ago, and I think perhaps SCG can share with me what the impact after that integration. Of course, the integration is still dynamics, it's still ongoing processes. Just to share with that, and the second one would go to the ladies from the BOI. I'm very keen to learn about how much so far our EEC has been progressed, because I understand that this is a very important policy of the government. It's kind of like to bring Thailand back from, when we developed Eastern Seaboard, probably over 20 years ago, and then this is time that we will use this kind of thing, that all the existing facility since the Cold War, either the airport in Satahib or the deep sea port somewhere there also. I'm very keen to learn how much so far this EEC have been progressed. Do we get a lot of, perhaps you can share with us, who already committed to make the investment in the EEC area? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. Second. No more question? Okay. Let's give the opportunity for our panelists to respond to that. Anyone from the panelists would like to respond to the impact of the ASEAN economic community to the business? If, yeah, please.
I think, first of all, right now, our key strategy for ACG is that we want to be regional business leader that emphasize on innovation and sustainability. So, of course, with the improvement of logistic and supply chain system all over the world, I can say that right now we have a borderless countries. So for SCG, not only we invest heavily in Indonesia, we also invest in many of our peers countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos also. So I must say that after the establishment of ASEAN, we have invested more within this region, and we see that the ease of doing business intra-countries is improving every year. Currently, the total size of our asset outside Thailand, around 25% of our asset is already outside Thailand. 30% of our employees also outside Thailand. So this number will continue to grow with the higher percentage lean to the overseas countries comparing to our investment in Thailand. So I must say that if we look at the other conglomerate also in Thailand, you see the same trend that people start to think about the investment location as a region, not as individual countries no more. So this is, I think, the direct impact from the establishment of ASEAN to the companies.
Thank you, Pa. So I think the response so far is quite positive from the yes. Before I give the floor to Ms. Penny from the Board of Investment, we would like to hear the response from the first question first. Please. Pa.
Yeah, I think just from the perspective for most of our members, we see that the ASEAN Economic Community is underutilized potential. It's much bigger a benefit that can be obtained. But this is where I think the collaborations amongst the ASEAN countries need to be stepped up. Sometimes we wonder why we have to look far to Europe, to US, while we have, such close, very close neighbors with such a huge potential. But at the same time, I think this is where to stress more what I said earlier, the relationship, the collaboration within or amongst the government and also their respective business communities becoming very, very critical. Issues need to be discussed as soon as it appears. Success stories need also to be spread out to encourage people to actually be more willing to step out their comfort zones. And, things like we want to open, but we don't really want to take the risk. This need to always be gauged. I mean, we often hear problem that as much as we are inviting for investment to Indonesia, employing foreign talent is not an easy matter in Indonesia. And that's why from Kadin perspective, we also continuously input to our government. We invited BKPM, try to, to attract as many investors to Indonesia. But if employing experts from foreign countries are not facilitated, it's not going to happen. So things like this, I think, requires a lot more discussion. But again, it's a potential that is ready to be harvested. It's there. We are geographically closer, culturally also, easier to digest. Within the ASEAN countries, we should look for within ourselves first before going far to Europe or to US. Thank you.
Thank you, Pa Yos. To other speakers who would like to respond, please.
Yes. From what we see, right now, we see that the e-commerce market in Southeast Asia, there are big players. And the big player backed by China, for example, Alibaba and JD. And their investment strategy is that they not invest in one single country. They invest in many countries. For example, Alibaba, they invest in 6 major countries in Southeast Asia, including Thailand and Indonesia. From what I see, that strategy right now, they try to promote the Chinese seller to sell the product from China to Southeast Asia. When you look at when we see the product in Lazada and Shopee, we see that many of them are the product from China. They promote because the Chinese seller in Alibaba in China, they are very ready because they have the capacity, they have the e-commerce revenue in the country is huge enough, and they are ready and they are comfortable. They understand the technology, they understand the cross-border trading, so they are ready to sell product abroad. When we look at the Southeast Asia, I see that in the future, within next few years, I see that this big platform will try to promote the seller in for example in the local market to sell across country as well. Right now, it is only Chinese seller sell to Southeast Asia, but in the next few years, from what I see, their strategy is to combine the platform. The Alibaba platform across country will have the seller across country. Yeah, a lot of my Indonesian employee, most of the time when they go to Bangkok for meeting, they will plan to go to Chatuchak Market, Platinum, to go to shopping. So a lot of Indonesians love shopping in Thailand, in Bangkok. So as you can see, the product between market have demand. Yeah, they have demand among the country. And when the seller are ready, the trade between country will go skyrocket in the next few years. That is from what I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. One of big challenge for Indonesia country is about how to manage the import activity in this era, because Indonesia is current account deficit country. Thailand is current account surplus country, so that's why your currency is very strong, but Indonesia is difficult to maintain the stability of currency because Indonesia is current account deficit country. So in this era, especially for the digital economy era, one of the homework of a country like Indonesia is how to manage the import activity. That's why we are still thinking about the activity of digital economy and also about the e-commerce. Indonesia now is the current account deficit is around 3%, and we always say that we have to maintain the current account deficits below than 3% because the developing country like Indonesia, more than 3% is not good, because it's hard to us to supply US dollar in the market because no enough supply from the export proceed. So from the different perspective, Pak Denny, the current development, especially for the e-commerce, we have also concern about the impact of the import activity that have a bad impact to the current account deficit for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ramdhani. And now I would like to invite Ms. Penny to, Ambassador, please.
Well, pardon me, sorry to interrupt, but to make an equal chance for our guest speaker, also to the director of BKPM. So I wish to ask question to him. Okay. To make this forum work more on equal ways of both Indonesia and Thailand trade and investment cooperation. As the time that I was in Indonesia as ambassador last year, we had many questions from the business people the Thai business people, asking for more facilitation on the licensing process, the facilitation or the speeding up of the process for work permit, and the other facilitation for simplifying regulations and making it more convenient for the investors to do business in Indonesia. That's why we try very much to raise this question to the government, and I hope if BKPM can try to respond to this kind of questions, will be very useful for the Thai investors and business people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And I think I would like to invite Ms. Pani first to respond to the questions about the progress of EEZ in Thailand. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for the question. I think that this question has to separate into two issues. One issue is on infrastructure development for the facility in EEZ. This one, the project has a time frame for each project. The first 5 priorities, high-speed train, for example, to upgrade the deep sea ports, for example, MRO is on track. We closed the bidding for the high-speed train, and then there's a lot of interest, and that's Ministry of Industry and EEZ office has responsibility on that. But on the part of the Board of Investment, as I mentioned earlier, that the EEZ we promote in 10 targeted industries. For example, like food for the future, the automotive parts, for example, like electric vehicle, for example, hotel industry, tourism, that 10 targeted industries. From the statistic that projects come to the Board of Investment, we can see the trend of the increase. I do not prepare a slide for this because time is not available, but I can say that comparing this year and last year, the project has been increased almost 40% of the project that come to the Board of Investment and invest in the EEZ. In the last 2 days, 2 days ago, the Thai ambassador from Paris brought a mission from France in aviation industry, come to explore investment opportunity. Aviation is one of the targeted industries in the EEZ. They come to explore the investment opportunity, and we hope that in the very near future, we're going to have the cooperation and see more investment from abroad in the targeted industry, particularly aviation, EV, for example, food for the future, to come to the EEZ. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pani. Now I would like to invite Bapak Indra Darmawan to respond to the questions from Ambassador Pichayapan. Please, Pak Indra.
Thank you for the question, Pak. Yes, sending an engineer, Indonesian engineer, to India, 10 engineer, Indonesian engineer to India is easier than having one programmer from Bangalore to Jakarta. That's the fact. That is also the fact that sending goods from Jakarta to Padang takes longer than sending from Singapore to other part of the world. That is logistic. This is part of what Pak Yos previously mentioned about the other story. The other story. Taking ASEAN into context, since 2010, at least, or 2008, the intra-trade among ASEAN only improved very slightly, 2 or 4%. the tourist arrival also not improving significantly. But on the FDI, that's the best part of the intra-ASEAN FDI is gaining some momentum. The intra-FDI in the among ASEAN member countries rose significantly. But the intra-trade and the intra-tourist arrival is not that much. This means that in the era of globalism, the free movement of capital, of goods, and of talents, of people, is not really smooth. Only the movement of goods, but movement of capital and movement of people is still facing up some challenge. So there is also, putting your question into context, we frequently also receive a complaints about the work permits, work permit facilitation. In fact, that is not the top of the list of the top complaint. Top complaint is regulatory inconsistency. That's the top one. The work permit came maybe third or fourth. But we do something about it. Now, by way of introducing the 3 hours service for those with 7 billion rupiah above. How much that in US? 7 billion. Yeah. Yeah. 5 million. 5 million US. You can have that in 3 hours for at least 10 expatriates. So 10 expatriates in 3 hours, provided your investment value is above 5 million, or if you're involved in infrastructures, that is also eligible. So the first one that we have already done is the 3-hour service. The second one is it will be further improved by doing it online. So right now, the Ministry of Manpower already on the final stage of introducing the online system for that. That is what I can answer to your question here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Indra. I hope that answered the questions, Excellency. Any more questions from the floor? If not, if not, I would like to invite our 4 panelists to provide with the final word for 2 minutes from each of them, please.
So first of all, I would like to say thank you for this invitation to join this event. And I believe it's a good initiation because in the future, we of course, everybody want to see increase in investment and trade among countries, especially among Thailand and Indonesia. And I think today we touched a lot about how to improve the investment climate, including the licensing part. I think this kind of thing cannot be solved one way, meaning only Indonesia government or BKPM to solve this. But the private sector also need to work closely with the government agency to help improve the investment climate in the countries. So I hope that this is a good start. And then I also intend that after this event, I will visit Pa Indra to discuss some in detail about how to improve the system together. So yeah, this is a good start, and then I hope that you see more of the similar kind of event going forward. Thank you.
Okay. To me, from what I see, there is the huge opportunity that I share to you about the potential of the e-commerce in the region. Yeah, but when we look at the potential of the e-commerce, from what I see, it is not only the only pure online shopping. The future, from what I believe, it is the online and offline shopping will blend together, and it will be the same. The offline shopping will don't go and go away. The offline shopping will still be there, but it will blend together, and the potential will be even bigger. Yeah, as you can see, this is online, but if you look at the offline, from the research that I see, around 50% of the offline shopping right now is influenced by digital. So when you look at the big potential, it is not only in the online, it is on the offline that you can use the digital marketing and digital tool to influence the offline shopping as well. That is from what I see. And when we look at the Southeast Asia, the trade collaboration between countries is yet to be exposed, to jump and to have a big potential in the future. So I thank you for inviting me to share my perspective today. Even I am only a small tech company, but I have a big dream that I want to bring this tech company to expand to in the many countries in Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Now Indonesia has around more than 60 business units of small enterprise. It's around more than 95% business unit in Indonesia. And its contribution to our GDP is more than 60%. And the absorbing of labor force is around more than 60% also. But based on the survey, only below than 10% familiar about the digital technology, e-commerce, or something like that. So maybe this is our homework, and it can be a collaboration between two countries, how to help, how to support our small enterprise, that they can be more familiar about the e-commerce, digital technology. So when we talk about the digital economy, so we hope together that our small enterprise be the one of the player in the future, not the observer. So I think you can think and collaborate about this thing. Thank you.
I think as a closing remark, if I can have my presentation on the page 28, the Kadin Business Support Desk. I think the collaborative spirit is there, the optimism is there. The government also very accommodative and very responsive. But I think from the business player, like what Mr. Vikorn earlier said, we also need to do our own effort, and for that, Kadin Indonesia have set up what's so-called the Business Support Desk. It's on page 28, with sole goal is to assist not only the local players, but also more importantly the foreign potential investors to navigate, its ways into the Indonesian system. I mean, it's hard enough for local players to actually to understand everything, let alone for foreigners. So I think this kind of support, if page 28 can be displayed, there is a contact numbers there, and also an email address. Any Thai potential investor that are planning to invest or planning to understand more, be able to, or looking for existing player to share their experience, which I think is very important. If you're a business player, you would love to hear from the same person or the same companies that is in your field to get a lot more insights. This is actually the way we have Kadin Business Support Desk, which will be able to help out to the best that we can and to support the dream of making Thailand and Indonesia to be collaborating better and be success together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I think that was the end of our panelist discussion today. Please allow me to read some of the points that I can conclude from this panel discussion. First, the opportunities are very big, both in Indonesia and in Thailand. Some of the potential sectors are food and agricultural industry, tourism, digital economy, but I need to say but, because the government, both government need to do more to provide a better services for the business community, because the opportunity is big, the challenges will be also big, because we as government need to change our mindset and to go along with the speed of the business people. And I would like to highlight the attentions by the Board of Investment of Thailand on the incentive for innovation and technology. I think as the two developing countries, both Indonesia and Thailand need to pay attention to this, because we don't want to rely on our products based on merely natural resources. We want to move forward very quick, use the digital economy, use the best talent in our country to compete better with other countries in the world, and also to make use of the fourth industrial revolutions that are now almost all countries are trying to get the benefit from. And last point is we need to do more forum like this. I think we have the intentions, we have the full support from the two directors generals, and also I think the foreign ministers, and now it's really depend on the officials to take this opportunity and working together with the business community. And then at the end, I would like to invite you all to give a round of applause to our four panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dani, for a very fitting conclusion to a very exciting and engaging panel discussion. Next, we will have a session for presentation of tokens of appreciation to all of our speakers, but I first like to invite all of our speakers to rest at their table as we set up the stage, please. As we are waiting for the stage to be set up, I'd like to draw attention of our Thai participants to the barcode set right at the center of every table. If you could scan that, it's our survey form. We'd like to hear from you, your feedback on how you have found this panel discussion and also the seminar. So if you could use your smartphone to scan the barcode, the QR code on the table and fill out the forms for us, that would be very much appreciated. I'd like to invite His Excellency Mr. Pichayapan Chanpomidon onto the stage to present the token of appreciation to our speakers and panelists. His Excellency on the stage, please. First, I'd like to start with our moderator, Mr. Deni Abdi. Please on the stage. Next, Mr. Indra Damawan from BKPM. And Mr. Yos Ginting from Kadin, please. And from the Thai side, Kun Panni Cheng Sutta from the Board of Investment of Thailand, please. Sorry, I forgot. I'd like to invite Mr. Ramdan Deni Pakoso also from the Bank of Indonesia. Sorry. And to our Thai panelists, Kun Vikon Pongsathorn from SCG Indonesia. And lastly, Mr. Thanawat Malabupha from Priza Company. Thank you, Your Excellency. And that concludes our seminar today. I hope that you have learned something useful to your businesses and also met people and made connection that would lead to more trade and investment for Thailand and Indonesia in the future. Once again, please fill out our feedback form by scanning the QR code on the table. Lunch will now be served on the 12th floor.